What is going on, everybody? We are back with another review, and this time we are reviewing Season 1, Episode 12 of Alfred Hitchcock Presents, and this episode was called Santa Claus and the 10th Avenue Kid. It was directed by Don Weiss, story was done by Margaret Cousins, teleplay was done by Marion Cockrell, and it featured Barry Fitzgerald as Harold Stretch Sears. The episode released December 18th, 1950. So this episode starts off with Harold getting out of prison, and once he gets out of prison or jail, I don't know exactly what he was in. He's basically told he's on parole and he has to get a job. The lady that works behind the desk of the parole board or parole office basically finds a job for him as a department store Santa for the holidays. He obviously doesn't know going into it that it's going to be a mall or a department store Santa, but once he gets there and gets going, that's when he finds out. He starts to, kids sit on his lap. He takes down notes. He hands the papers to the parents, gives them a little toy out of the sack that he's carrying around. And this goes on a lot for the first day that he's working there. And at the end of the day, one of the kids that shows up is this kid who's just an absolute turd of a child. And constantly berating him, telling him he's fake and all these other things because he wanted this toy plane that was hanging up in the ceiling, and Santa can't give him the toy plane because it's hanging up on the ceiling of the department store. So afterwards, he goes home, comes back the next day, and apparently he does this for a week. He comes in, kids sit on his lap, goes home. The very last day of work, and it's the last day that he's going to be doing this job. He also gets taken home every night and brought in every day by the clerk lady behind the desk, right? So then, on the last day, during his lunch, he goes to collect his paycheck for the week, and there's a note inside the envelope from the lady that has been working with him, basically saying, "Hey, I took the money that you got paid, and I'm opening up a bank account for you. I will talk to you later about all this." And he gets super pissy. He goes and sits down, and he's kind of a jerk to the rest of the kids for the rest of the day because he was really looking forward to having that money. And I think he was going to try and skip out of at least the area to go drink or whatever. So, at the end of shift, all the kids leave, and one kid comes back in, and it's the rude kid from earlier in the episode. And the rude kid is standing there looking at the airplane, and the Santa, the department store Santa walks up to him. And he says, "So what are you doing here?" And he's like, "I'm going to be a pilot one day. It's why I want the plane." And the guy goes, "Well, if you're going to be a pilot, you got to be a good kid. And if you want this plane, you got to be a good kid because I can only give things like this to good kids." And he's like, "Oh, I'm a good kid." He's like, "Put everything in this bag that you thought you were going to get away with." And the kid just starts emptying his pockets. He'd done robbed a bunch of stuff from this convenience store or department store. And he says, "All right, run along now. Where do you live?" So forth and so on. And the kid goes home. The manager comes in, thanks him for everything that he did, tells him he should come upstairs to hand out some stuff, and he leaves. The guy then unhooks the airplane from the thing, puts it in his sack, and walks out. He walks over to the guy's house, jimmies the door open, sets the plane inside, and then leaves. And he does all this because he wants the kid to believe in something good so that he can not become somebody that steals something. He wants him to make something of himself. He then gets picked up by the cops outside. They take him in, and they know that he stole the airplane. And he refuses to tell them what he did with it, or where he took it specifically. He just says that he gave it to a kid. The lady comes in that had been helping him this entire time, and she explains the whole story to him that, he didn't have the money because she took his money. Otherwise, he would have paid for it. She has the money on her because the banks were closed, so she couldn't open up a bank account. She gives them the money, and he's like, and the cop's like, "Well, he broke his parole." And she's like, "Can't you have any goodwill to last this, for the next couple days?" And he says, "All right, you didn't break the parole. You just bent it a little bit. I expect to see you at the shelter tomorrow." And the guy agrees, and they leave, and that's the end of the episode. Not only is this my least favorite episode of Alfred Hitchcock Presents so far, and you'll be really hard pressed to find anything get worse than this for me, but this is the worst thing I feel like we have watched on the channel, period. It is very hallmarky. Guy coming in, changing his life around, and doing the right thing. That's not Alfred Hitchcock Presents. It hasn't been what this show has been about this entire time. And I hate this. This is everything that I hate about Christmas stories and Christmas anything. The one exception, the one Christmas story I do enjoy, regardless of the different ways that it's told, is A Christmas Carol, which is very similar in that, hey, this guy turns his life around, but there's ghosts involved and things like that. Things that at least pique my interest. This didn't do any of that. You just took a convict and made him a decent person. And that's it. I hated it. I never want to watch this episode again. Don Weiss, you suck for directing this. You don't suck at directing, just for directing this specifically. Margaret Cousins for writing this. You suck more than anybody else. It's just not my thing. I hated it. I'm not going to sit here and say that the actual episode itself truly sucked. Somebody out there is going to love this. Not me. This is the first thing that we have covered on this channel that I've hated. And I mean that. We have watched a lot of janky horror so far. We will continue to watch more janky horror. I didn't hate most of that. There's some that I'm like, this is rough, but we can get through it. For me, this sucked. It sucked for me to have to sit here and watch whatever this was. So yeah, we're at least through it. We're done. I'm glad that I didn't actually record this to put out on my birthday. I'm sad that this episode is what's coming out on my birthday. So, things could be better. That's for sure. All right, guys. That's my review. Yeah. I am so disappointed right now. I love y'all, and we'll see you next time. Peace.